So I'm really liking what I see from the Moors right now. They just took over Madrid, they have access to the North African coast, and an Iberia that's really divided. I mean, their capital, Cordoba, is already at 18 population. Granada, their colony in North Africa, here at 10 population. I mean, they do need to somewhat worry about the Moroccans. The Moroccans actually have a pretty good military. I didn't even realize that. But I do believe they might be a little bit distracted right now because I know that Mali and Songhai are at war. They might be more considering a war for Mali. But that would still be pretty difficult, although Mali has their unique units. But I do like the Moors. Even if they do lose Granada, still not bad at all. Ooh, we have the Dutch coming down here, settling right next to the Vandals, it looks like. But yeah, Portugal, like I said, I mean, Iberia is very divided right now. Even France, who seems to be pretty strong at the moment, it's going to be tough for them to get a lot of reinforcements down to northern Iberia. So I'm excited to see what the Moors do with this new city. Okay, let's go to the next turn. Turn 216. Has the World Congress been founded? Yes, it has. Okay, obviously, Drew, there's a big old number, like right there. Obviously, man, jeez. There are several wars going on, and I'll actually have to remind myself of all the wars that are happening, because I can't remember. There's so many. You know, the Dutch might settle like 3 different cities, but I think the AI is trying to go up just north of Finland and continue on out this way. Yeah, they've been doing quite a bit of settling, actually, which is strange. They're out of Western Europe. You don't see that same sort of aggression from other civs at the moment, which is pretty interesting. Okay, what happened here? We've got Bohemia building the Red Forts. We have Arabia and the Umayyad piecing out. Kievan and Sweden peace deal as well. And bam. Okay, so Egypt has taken another city away. Now, Egypt looks pretty good at the moment. That's interesting that they pieced out, because Arabia looked like they were going to have a good chance here. That's strange. Now that I think about it, I forgot about the Umayyad coalition war that occurred. Arabia is going to be in trouble because they will not be able to stop Egypt. I do not think they're going to be able to stop Egypt this time around. Maybe if... I mean, I don't see the Carthaginians or the Vandals really accumulating too much strength. I think someone will eventually blob out of North and West Africa. That does tend to happen. Oh, okay, good. So we're seeing some peace deals, a little bit of peace deals, which is nice, because I actually lost track of some of the more minor wars, I guess. I mean, there's no real major wars that are taking place. I don't believe. I do like the Greek Gothic War though. That is pretty interesting, especially if the Goths fall here. And then of course the Prussian-Bohemian border, which we all are still kind of looking out for. Bohemia also looking like they might settle an additional city. I think we can start making our predictions for great powers, and I'd love to know what you guys think. Who would you guys say? Because there's about 40 nations still left. Bam, we've got Armenia taking another city away. Really liking Armenia's expansion at the moment. We also have Sardinia and Piedmont piecing out with the modded Civ. Oh, Florence. How could I do that to myself? How could I not remember our own god's name, Florence? Or I guess symbol. I mean, how could I not remember that? So let me know in the comment section down below. Who's your top 5 civs? In terms of my top 5 civs, Bohemia is number 1. I think that's pretty easy to say. Bohemia 1. I want to say the Huns 2, to be honest. The Huns 2, Prussia 3, Egypt 4, and I'd say France 5. And I know I started this video off talking about the Moors. I think the Moors could just be a dark horse to become a great power one day. You know, on this difficulty level and on this map, it's very easy for civs to just jump into a really good spot. I mean, even the Celts, this is the best game we've seen out of the Celts. All they really have to do is either take over France, which I actually don't think is going to happen, or they need to somehow unify the British Isles. Switzerland and a Flemish settler. Hey, let's not forget about Iceland, right? Let's not forget about Iceland. That's not bad in terms of population. 9 pop, 8 pop cities. They've got, obviously military filled out on the entire island. Carthage and Egypt have pieced out. This will slow down Egypt a little bit. Sardinia, Piedmont, and the Papal States piecing out. Milan and the Goths. But the Goths are still facing heavy forces from all sides. Yep, that's what the Dutch want. So the Dutch wanted a whole separate country, pretty much, out here in Eastern Europe. That's what it's looking like to me. A whole separate country. And I don't think either the Greeks or the Goths are going to be able to get enough done to push farther enough. I think another thing to keep in mind is let's not disregard Byzantium. Like I said, Byzantium won the second European battle that we did. And they didn't win it, like, early on. They kind of were one of those civs that came out of nowhere to win it. You know, they eventually consolidated power here in this region. What ultimately led to their win, though, their victory, was that they took over the Italian peninsula. And that was just like, oh my gosh. They were pretty much unstoppable at that point. Armenia is continuing to push forward, and they still have several units back behind them. It looks like Assyria might be slightly behind in terms of technology. They have no musketmen. I see only pikemen, which is weird. That's weird. We've got Sardinia, Piedmont versus Bavaria. There's a first war of the video. The Huns and Prussia have peaced out. Okay. And we also have the Huns and the Goths peacing out. Okay, so the Huns clearly did not have the military, or at least they didn't think they had the military to continue forward. This is why Assyria is not doing so well. They might have numbers overall, but because this army's trapped north of Hunnic territory, that's a problem. British and Sweden peacing out. Okay, so... Oh, you pieced out Forest City. So that continues to happen. So now we have the Papal States in modern-day France. And, yeah, Sardinia Piedmont is in a really difficult situation. A very difficult situation. The Vandals never really were able to take off too much in their invasion for Antium. They were very close. Oh, now people are starting to go after them. We've got Bohemia and Switzerland going after Sardinia Piedmont, but I think it's going to have to be a naval civ that will ultimately take them over. We've got Bohemia plotting against Greece. We've got Arabia and Sardinia Piedmont. Okay, there's France. There's Russia. Let's see if Milan, or I would actually think Portugal. Unfortunately for Portugal, well, first of all, they don't have access to the Strait of Gibraltar, so they can't reinforce the Mediterranean. There it is. Okay, well, they declared war. The problem is that this is a puppeted city. Everyone's declaring war on Sardinia Piedmont now. Let's see if they can survive. I think they have a chance, maybe. I think they might have a slight chance, unless, of course, France moves through the Pope's territory. Then it's kind of, you know, who knows. I don't think Milan is strong enough to declare this war. I don't think that they think they could do it. Huns and the Ottomans have peaced out. We've got the Vandals and Byzantium. That's interesting. Byzantium declared war on the Vandals. Did they lose a lot in the Roman War? They might have. Maybe they lost more than we're thinking. Granada's still doing fine. The Moors have a pretty good army here protecting Madrid. Ooh, we've got a little bit of combat going on in the Atlantic Ocean. That's awesome. Yeah, that's very cool. Didn't notice that Iberia... Oh my gosh, this is perfect. I just noticed this right now. Islam is coming up through the Moors' territory into Iberia. This is amazing. Unfortunately, it's not going to be super accurate because they're fighting against Confucianism, but either way, the Moors will be pushing Islam into Iberia. How cool is that? That's pretty fun. Arabia now versus the Vandals. Greeks versus the Vandals. Deep sea sailing is still not a part of... I don't think anyone has that technology just yet. I mean, besides, like, you know, everyone in the Atlantic Ocean, Sardinia, Piedmont. Next time, I really need to edit this map and make sure that most of the Mediterranean is inland sea. It bothers me now that I think about it that this is deep ocean. That makes no sense. Yeah, that makes no sense. So we will we'll make sure that is a thing next time. Everyone's peacing out with the Goths, Milan, Finland, Scotland, Milan. Bavaria's built another wonder. Bavaria's done a pretty good job building all these wonders. Ooh, okay, so there's a Roman declaration of war. Rome won't be able to do much either. Carthage and Egypt's now both going against the Umayyad, as the Umayyad continue to collapse in the Middle East. I'm sure Arabia's got to be kicking themselves in the head here for peacing out so early. Byzantium made it to the eastern Black Sea. They found themselves a coastal city. However, they better be careful of the Huns. France and the Goths have peaced out. Greeks and the Goths. Hungary and the Vandals are now at war. Lots of coalitions forming. But nothing I think significant. I think the Umayyad will survive. And I actually think Sardinia Piedmont will survive too. Where did the second... There was a second Dutch settler. There he is. He's lucky that he... Well, actually, he's not lucky. He could move through this way if he wanted to. I was going to say, he's lucky to have Hungarian open borders, but that doesn't matter. He could have done that either way. How's Prussia doing? Prussia's relaxing. What's going on with Scandinavia? Sweden seems to be the power in Scandinavia. But then again, you never know with Denmark. Denmark is just crushed behind these mountains. Denmark should be safe. I mean, the problem is that Copenhagen is going to be up for grabs. As soon as artillery is a major part of this world, Copenhagen will certainly be up for grabs. Multiple artillery attacks will bring that city down, and then, a few... Because it's coastal, Sweden has control of the Baltic Sea for the most part. I feel like Sweden is the main controller of the Baltic Sea, or maybe Finland. There'll probably be a war at some point to fight over this sea here. Gets captured by Milan. I didn't even realize that the Pope was after. Or I'm sorry, I didn't realize Milan and the Pope were at war. That was, I think, a war that has existed for a really long time. And so France doesn't get kicked out of this territory, right? Okay, well, France has a really good chance of taking this final city over. They do. I don't know if they should be embarking like that. That's going to be kind of a problem. Portugal and some naval support would really help right now. Vandals might also get aboard. Oh, no, never mind. They're gone. I was going to say they were close to getting on board. I am totally blanking because of... Oh, that's Flanders. Okay. Okay, so we've got Florence, Tuscany, and Finland going after Flanders. That's a dual war. That's not a coalition war, so we shouldn't see anybody else, I don't think, team up. And mainly, why is that? They must have a colony that made somebody upset. Oh my gosh, look at this. The Dutch are going everywhere for their cities. The Dutch are becoming the most, colonial nation out of everybody in Europe, which is pretty, that's ironic. Yeah, that's an example of irony, I think. Siege of the city is still not begun, so that's kind of a problem for France. There is a nice Portuguese privateer. I don't know why they're not attacking. Portugal's got an okay navy. Any more peace deals or wars? No. We do have Portugal with their Braga. Wait, no. What are these? No, that's not Braga. What? I'm sorry. I was looking at the city. I don't know why I thought their boat was called Braga. I don't even know how to pronounce this one, though. But they do have their unique boat out, which is a pretty powerful weapon. I don't know how much they're going to use it, though. What's going on with the Umayyad? Now, last time Egypt tried this, they were not able to take over Jerusalem. Jerusalem is a tough city to take. They also need to feel the threat that, Assyria and the Armenians are also closing down their own conflict in the north. So, yeah, boom. I mean, we have the Umayyad with two cities left, Damascus and Jerusalem. And I'd be very surprised if Egypt doesn't... I'm sorry, if Arabia doesn't also declare a last-second war just to try to grab something. I mean, they desperately need it. They're only at 3 cities, not very good population. They could really use it right now. Interesting. So we've got Scotland versus Norway. But that shouldn't matter, I don't think, at all. Another really cool thing, Greece and Denmark. Okay. Interesting. Another really cool thing, Scotland did really well in our previous European battle, too. That was a different mod of Scotland, though. But that was just kind of interesting. Sweden's going to go after Norway for, the 3rd time or something like that, right? I think Norway's going to still be able to defend themselves, though. Sweden actually looks pretty powerful, but... Actually, I think Oslo could fall. Open terrain, got to worry about this forest. Sweden will lose a lot of units in the process, which will keep Denmark safe. This is time. This is now Denmark's time to strike. Denmark, okay, and that's exactly what they're doing. Well, actually, that's what the British are doing. The British declared that offensive war. They better be careful. What's going on in the sub-Saharan African region? Because I know these two are at war, but doesn't look like anything is coming from it. Yeah, Western Africa is still really divided, which is surprising. We usually, at this point, don't see this much divide on this continent. Not in this stage of the game. Yep, France will not be able to take over Sardinia's capital. And again, Celts looking pretty good, but they need to wait for someone to lose a lot of units. If England loses a few units here, I mean, because the Celts ultimately control a pretty good part of the English Channel, I could see the Celts going after London. I don't think it would be out of a question. They might be able to take it over. Boom. Okay, so Egypt finally managed to do it, and it looks like Assyria will take Damascus over, I think. I don't know. It's going to be close, actually, because you've got all melee units coming in. Charge. You'll have at least 2 melee attacks soon. Yeah, no, it's going to be... Never mind. It's totally going to be Armenia. Assyria doesn't have any melee units. I'm not sure if I said the wrong thing there. I say the wrong thing all the time. I've probably done it like about 10 times already in this series. Maybe 10 times a video. That's probably a better way to put it. Turn 235. There goes a peace deal. Between Florence and Egypt. Egypt looks really good now. Although, something to keep in mind, these are, you know what? That's always a problem for Egypt, is they move up to, they move up to coastal cities. They take over coastal cities along the eastern Mediterranean, but they keep these cities puppeted, which means they can't build any sort of navy, which means they're completely defenseless when it comes to naval attacks. Oh, wow. Portugal went in and stole it. Dang. Dang, Maria, dang, France, you done goofed. That's all I can say. You really messed up. We've got the Moors, and I believe that's Bohemia. Okay, hold on. Armenia going after Russia, Bavaria going after Russia. These are 2 team wars that formed up. Rome should be fine. Russia should be fine, too. There's no immediate border there, either. I don't think anyone else is going to declare war on those 2. Yeah, I don't think so. And then if Armenia pushes forward, they're a modded civ. Actually, no. Did Assyria move? I think they did. Yeah, Syria already... Oh, there it is. Okay, never mind. So Assyria is going to keep a buffer zone between Egypt and Armenia, which I actually think are a little bit more powerful. We've got another civ destroyed. That's our second civ destroyed, right? The Umayyad are gone, and now Sardinia Piedmont is gone. We're just destroying civs left and right. It's crazy. So civs continuing to die, which is kind of a great thing, because the more civs that die, the better the game's going to run, and the more powers we get ultimately by the end of the series. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.